건축사의 자산이자 자부심인 건축사 공제조합은 건축사법 제38조 3의 2거에 설립된 건축사 유일의 공제조합으로 손해배상 공제와 보증, 약정, 융자 등의 사업, 각종 교육 및 연구사업 추진을 통해 건축사의 권익 향상과 업무 리스크를 해소하고 나아가 국민의 재산권 보호와 건축문화 발전에 기여 조합원의 공동이익 도모에 최선을 다하고자 설립되었습니다. 건축사들의 희망이자 미래인 건축사 공제조합, 새로운 시대에 걸맞는 새로운 약속으로 다시 도약하며 2024년 새로운 목표를 향합니다.
이 뷰를 가진 자, 가장 완벽한 인테리어를 가질 것이다. 슬림 뷰, 엣지 뷰, 화이트 뷰, 그 모든 뷰를 담은 프레임의 완성, 뷰 프레임. 뷰가 아름다울수록 공간은 더 빛나니까. 창호의 프레임을 새롭게. LX 지인.
이것은 마치 한 폭의 그림과도 같다. 클렌체에 산다는 건 이런 것. 클렌체. 이것은 마치 한 폭의 그림과도 같다. 클렌체에 산다는 건 이런 것. 클렌체.
I've lived here all my life. When I've been in New Zealand, haven't lived anywhere else. I started off, I was interested in photographing motorbike racing, car racing. Pretty soon after that point in 1975, I became interested in using bigger cameras, and it's a really great buzz when you're in the dark room and when you first flip the developing print over and you see something that you really like coming up, see the image appearing as if by magic, and it's a great feeling. You think, wow, that was worth carrying the camera up that huge hill for. Much earlier on I used to worry that I didn't know where I was going with it and blah blah. But now I just keep plugging away, and I might go for a while and not take very many photographs, but then something sparks it off again and away I go. Probably about 2006 I bought my first digital camera. I'd take a photograph and print it and think, wow, yeah, I really like that. I think that was worth doing. And you keep going. Yeah, when I approach these buildings, I usually don't put a great deal of thought into positioning the camera, because I don't know, I just think it happens sort of subconsciously. Yeah. Mr. Cartier-Bresson, the famous French photographer, once said, "You can't develop and print a memory." So, building there, Wanganui Herald, 1987, at 85 Victoria Avenue. On its last legs there, probably awaiting demolition. There's some modern monstrosity to take its place. I like buildings like this because they're not like these modern glass and concrete boxes. They've got a bit of character to them. Some effort's been and thought has been put into making them a little bit decorative and attractive. And another well-known photographer, Lawrence Aberhart, he was telling me about an old building. It had been a grocery store on the corner of Harrison Street, and Lawrence saw it one day and he thought, when he was artist in residence here in 1986, and he thought, I'll go back next week and photograph that. And he went back next week and it had been bulldozed. And he said, "Richard, it's the kiss of death to say, I'll go back and do it." I've never forgotten it. Denton's building, very well known early Wanganui photographer, and the building was destroyed by fire probably, I think, sometime in the 1980s. And this photograph was made in around 1978. Even at that time, the fact that I had some interest in architecture and was somewhat aware of the value of photographing buildings like that, but unfortunately, as I've decided now, I wasn't aware enough. This image here is upstairs in the back part of this same Denton building. There was another part of this building which was accessed from Watt Street, directly through from the avenue frontage. So it's possible, I can't remember now, it's a long time ago, but it's possible that this was somewhere in this part of the building, but I just can't remember. If I'm photographing buildings, interiors, things like that, I tend to use the camera the same as I would a view camera, the view camera I used in the old days, composing the photograph on the camera's viewing screen. I don't like to do it in the viewfinder. I use a black cloth over the back of the camera that I stick my head into, just like you used to see in the cowboy movies. It's amazing how passers-by feel compelled to shout something out when they see me with my head in this thing. Quite amazing. Right. Now we've got a very light sky up there. That goes in there, and of course the clear bit is not obscuring the building or darkening the building, but the dark bit at the top is doing the trick on the sky. Wow, looking good. Another building that's semi-disappeared from view down the main street is the old Embassy Theatre. This shot was made in 1994, and it must have been just before they, I think probably just before they started work converting it to a multiplex. One of the attractions of Wanganui, it seems to quite a few out-of-town visitors, is our older architecture, and I was thinking this wasn't exactly what I'd call a thing of beauty, but it's interesting. I think it's interesting architecture, and particularly looking at it from this, looking back from this time. And one aspect of my documentary work that I really enjoy is the fact that I know that nothing can be too ordinary, or could be so ordinary that it won't be interesting in 20 or 50 years' time when somebody looks at the image. Might be an old geezer like me, 75 years old, and looking at it and think, gee, I remember that back when I was in my early 50s or something like that. Good to see it again. The ladies' powder room at the Embassy Theatre in 1994. I showed this to somebody, a woman recently, and she said, I remember that. Wow, great to see it again. Looking good. Even better than I thought it was going to be. Wonderful. I became interested in the documentary photography of Walker Evans, who was an American, and during the Great Depression he and a number of other really good photographers were hired by a government agency called the Farm Security Administration. These photographers travelled all over the country, photographing farms, garages, shops, anything that was interesting and showed how people were living. One photograph in particular by Walker Evans, which really got me fired up. It was an interior shot of a country church, and just the light and the surfaces of the wood, the organ standing in a corner of this sort of a rough timber interior. Really, it was a beautiful image. But yeah, that just really appealed to me. You could just about hear the organ playing, and all the old folks there singing their hearts out. Alabama, 1936.